What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage coming to you live with Danell Riggs. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, how are you doing? It's actually Danell.
I was just, as I was reading it, I'm going, I don't think I said that exactly right. Thank you for correcting me, Danell.
No worries. Oh, man, such an honor to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I am super pumped to interview you. Looks like your production, you're killing it. If you don't mind sharing with everybody a little bit about your mortgage practice, where you're at, and what kind of volume you're doing right now.
You bet. So I'm in northern Arizona. I'm in Prescott, Arizona, actually pronounced Prescott like biscuit. We are a small community. There's about 100,000 people here. I moved here in 1995, and I've been in mortgage since about 2007, right in there, and I guess 2005, so it's been 15 years. And I have an amazing team. It's been a long time really focused on the team, building out the team with coaching and all of that. And so right now, this year, we're going to hit almost 500 units at about 135 million. So it's pretty exciting.
Wow. So first of all, that I knew you did a lot of volume. I didn't know you were quite at that level. And being in a market like that, how big is the market that you do loans? Because are you doing all that in Prescott or Prescott?
Yeah. Prescott, yep, about all here. So it's the Tri-City area, Prescott Valley, and Chino Valley, and I really just focused here. It's definitely, a small community, good old boys type community. It's taken a long time to build relationships and a reputation, and it's really, really cool, though, because we've hit a spot where now listing agents will refer us deals, and a lot of times I'm not even pursuing them. So it's
Wow.
a good place.
Congrats. Are you the market leader in your market? Are you the top loan officer in that market?
Yeah, we are.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I love that. I interview a lot of loan officers in all types of cities, but it does seem like I interview less people in small markets. If you're watching this and you're killing it in a small market with Mortgage Coach, I would love to interview you because I think there are a lot of loan officers like you that are killing it with Mortgage Coach, but I don't interview enough of them. So I'm super pumped. So I know there has got to be a story on why you moved to Prescott, but I'm going to save that for another interview because I want to keep this one just kind of focused on your Mortgage Coach why and how you and your team are using Mortgage Coach. But what is your why? Like, why did you get on the Mortgage Coach team, and why are you providing your families with total cost analysis?
So right about 2 years ago is when things were way different. It was really, really hard 2 years ago at this moment in time, and that's when we were dealing with margin compression and lots of competition and everybody just lowering their interest rate. And that's when Guild, I think, really partnered with Mortgage Coach, and we got, more of an awareness around the importance of being high tech and high touch when it comes to borrowers and really educating them. I've always done a good job locking clients. I don't have a lot of losses or subsidies on loans, but to be able to have something that visually just shows what Mortgage Coach is able to represent, it means a lot to borrowers. So we got on the train back then. It's taken a long time to really implement, and then with the whole refinance craze, it's added a ton of value because I've needed to really break down who does what on my team. And I do have one person who's dedicated to refinances, and she uses Mortgage Coach on every single refinance. And we're really working to pull it in on every single purchase as well. But I use it on any purchase where I have someone who is a rate shopper or is more visual and would like to understand the bigger picture of the mortgage.
Love that. Love that. And congratulations. You are a Mortgage Coach black belt on your way to being a red belt. I think you're almost at 400 TCAs. Black belt is 300. And then red belt, which, as you know, Amber Kovark is a red belt, I think ×3. I think she might.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, over 2,000. So that's cool. That makes lots of sense. And it sounds like you are committed from, the prep call we had to implementing Mortgage Coach with all your purchases. Right now you're doing it 100% of refis, a portion of your purchases, but going into 2021, you're going to make it a standard for all the families you serve. And what is the why for that? Why upgrading? Because you've had a ridiculously successful year. Why do you want to continue to kind of elevate what you're doing and do more?
Well, I think that the client experience and the realtor experience is always the most important thing. So we definitely focus on purchase business. And this year has been so insane. So through coaching and just with all of the folks that I work around, I am around some amazing people. And recently we've had a lot of conversations about how a lot of people have gotten away from just the basics, the simple things that we should do on repeat all the time just because it's been such a crazy year. So with that said, one of the things that I was thinking about is, just our pre-approval meetings and then also at lock call. I do all my own lock calls, but at pre-approval and at lock, I want to have the TCA on every single client so that I have something to send ahead of time. And I really think it'll help to increase stickiness and to just educate clients. I try to educate the ones that I know need education, but I'm sure that just every single person would benefit from having this information from the get-go and clearly understanding what we're doing for them.
Yeah, and I would tell you guys will even get better at it. It's not a question of if a family would benefit from a total cost analysis, it's how. The conversation 100%. Does vary. First-time home buyer that barely qualifies to, hey, I'm going on my second home and 8th mortgage and I'm a grinder. That's a different conversation. And you're going to, do different details, but it's just knowing how to have that finesse. Well, let's talk about how you and your team are using mortgage coaching. Guys, if you're watching this live in our Facebook group right now, put questions in and I'll ask Danelle.
Danelle, you got it.
Okay, Danelle. Yeah, I'll ask Danelle the question. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel and you have questions, we'll get them answered. But how are you and your team doing it? Who's doing the setup of the TCA? When does it come into the process? Both purchase and refi, and then let's get into a couple stories.
You bet. So on the refinance side, I have a team member, like I mentioned, who is handling all of my refis. So from the interview that you did with Amber, she had mentioned asking, how is the house serving the family? How's the size? Are you still happy? All of that good stuff. So I do not touch all of my refi prospects at the very, very beginning. But what I did implement from that conversation that you had with Amber was that specific question so that we can hone in and try to find purchase opportunities where we can refer the client back to the real estate agent. But again, I do have one person on my team who handles all of the refinances. She creates a TCA on every single refi. She does the video, everything, and it adds so much value, not only to the borrower. I mean, obviously that's the most important reason why we use it, but from the team perspective, I have a team of 6, and any of us can get into any client's TCA and know where Courtney left off with that borrower and what they were discussing, and then we can tweak it and change it. And she is constantly in there working them and adjusting them and updating rates and updating information and showing additional options. So that's been really, really helpful, because during this time when we were all remote and everyone kind of had to shift roles, Courtney was actually a business development person for me. And then obviously with COVID and going remote, we weren't getting out and schmoozing realtors as much. So she stepped in and really, just grabbed refis with both arms and ran with it. So from even her perspective, just understanding and being able to clearly work her numbers, it's been tremendously helpful. And then on purchase business, I will use a TCA when I really want to show the different scenarios for a borrower and help them understand the different options that they have of either reinvestments or 15 or 30 or points versus no points. I think on the purchase side, that's been, for me, the most value that I've got out of the TCA is really helping to educate and explain to borrowers how rates work, rates cost, and I love that part of it.
Love that. So it sounds like a team member for your refis is creating the total cost analysis, and they're even presenting it. You've got a big enough team, a big enough database, doing almost 500 loans, which I do see more and more loan officers building team around their client for life experience. Because guys, if you are not doing annual reviews, if you're not giving all of your past customers a TCA and having the refi, that's a service and a value, you don't have a client for life mortgage practice. So it's cool to see that you're staffing for that. And then it sounds like for purchases, someone is doing the setup of the TCA. Do you ever create a TCA? I mean, is that something that you know how to do, or is that just something that your teammates do?
You know, it's so simple, I can even do it. And we always have what we call weekend warrior. So on the weekend, the team, everybody licensed on the team will rotate through who covers our business on the weekend. So when it's my weekend and I've got clients and I need to do a TCA, man, I can bust it out.
You can rock it out. Right on, right on. Well, remember, guys, we've got a number of folks watching this live. If you have questions, put them down below. Let's get into a TCA. Let's maybe do one refi, one purchase, get a look at what it looks like, how you set it up. And then I've got a few more questions, and then we'll wrap this up.
Sounds good. All right, let's see here. Can you see my screen okay?
I can. So we got your branding, your photo, your company. Love it.
And so this one, let's see here. Okay, so this one, so in my market, I have a lot of people moving here and buying second homes. So one time, I had a gentleman that I had done a TCA for. I had shown him all of the numbers. We had gone through everything. And he came back to me and said, you know, Danell, I went with a different lender because they're giving me a big credit to offset my cost. And again, in my market with second homes, I have a lot of people who will buy. And then within about a year or shortly thereafter, they sell their home and then they pay the loan off. So because I lost a loan, now immediately I always will show clients a really low rate, usually a middle rate, and then I also show a higher rate with a big lender credit. And every single time when I have this conversation with borrowers, I just explain to them that it's very important for me to understand, or for me to explain to them and help them understand that they drive the train. They choose what's important. They get to use that little toggle button that says, I want a low rate or I want low cost, and then I want them to understand everything. So this is pretty similar to what I will prepare for borrowers. And this gentleman I am talking to today, but he's doing a VA loan, buying a home for $240,000. And so I'm showing him, hey, here's a low rate and what that looks like for you for your payment and your cash to close. Here's a middle rate for you and what that does to your payment and your cash to close. And then let's go through a higher rate and your payment and your cash to close. And then I can really hone in and have a conversation on each of those and help them understand what and why and how it works, and really dive into how long are they going to have the home, how long are they going to have the mortgage. Every single purchase that I have, we have that conversation specifically around understanding their bigger financial picture so that I can try to know where I've got to direct them when we lock.
So I just want to point out a few things here. So first of all, this is a great service. If you're buying a home and your loan officer proactively and intentionally gives you options, it's a better service than if your loan officer just quotes rates. Hey, rates are this to this, and you're showing cost over time. So it's a valuable service. But guys, here's the other deal. It's science of selling. You are giving them options so that when they pick one, they own it. So they're more committed, especially if you know you're competing with big banks or online lenders. Guys, big banks and online lenders, this is their default move. You know, low rate, lots of points. You know, they're just always trying to sell that lower rate online, you know, for people that are shopping you. And let's face it, everybody is shopping. I mean, if they are buying a home or getting a purchase, whether they want to shop or not, Facebook and social media is going to see keywords and they're going to start teeing up rates, and online lenders are going to quote low rates. So there's a science of selling taking place by doing this. And then it's also just good service. Now, Danell, did you find, like, when you first started using Mortgage Coach, Like learning the data input and how, input this, input that, that's easy. Learning how to give options when you weren't giving options. You're so used to giving a fee worksheet. It's kind of like knowing, when someone says, oh, I want to look at this, this, and this, and I'm shopping you, that's kind of easy. I know how to play that game. But when someone isn't looking for options, to know, like, how do I strategically give them options as a value add, but I'm also improving it? Was that harder to learn how to do that for you?
Yeah, I think it definitely takes practice to play with the different, selling methods. I think my favorite is the challenger sale, and to dive in and say, well, you want to put 20% down, but let's look at less, and let's go through all of this. And when you educate them and you add value by being the professional that we are, and when we truly can understand their picture and their goals, it adds so much to the conversation. And it really takes us from being just the mortgage person with an interest rate to someone who's in their court and in a relationship with them and really wanting to be their lender for life. So I do think that that's really, really super important. And like I said, on that one loan where I did lose that guy, I never even thought of just showing him a massive lender credit, and I needed that experience to remember, oh man, every single deal, I got to talk lots of costs. I got to talk really, really low cost. We really need to just dive deep and go through all scenarios for him.
So you mentioned Challenger Sale. Did you read the book, The Challenger Sale?
I have not read the book, The Challenger Sale.
Oh, how did you come up with those words? I like to be a Challenger Sale. Is that just a phrase?
Coaching. Yeah, just coaching, going through different, ideas for how to read a personality and work with kind of what makes them tick. You know what I mean? For some people, a Challenger Sale does not work, but you can usually tell when you've got someone who's a little spicy and kind of on it. It's like, hey, let's go through options. Let's do this.
I like that, kind of spicy, and let's go through options. So guys, there's a book called The Challenger Sale, which I'm a huge fan of, and I'm not going to do a long pitch on it, but at the end of the day, it's a study of the best salespeople in America. And Microsoft participated, ADP participated. It wasn't just the mortgage space. And they came up with like, hey, here's the top 10%. Let's do a personality profile on these people. And why are they so successful? And there is a category called the Challenger Sales Rep. And they were the majority of top 10% performers. And there was a category called relationship sales reps, hardworking sales reps, problem-solving sales reps, and the lone wolf. Well, the Challenger Sales Rep was the alpha top producer. Relationship sales rep came in last. So that's always a big shock to people. Like, I thought it's all about relationship selling. Well, guys, here's the framework to being a Challenger Sales Rep. 1, tailor, ask great questions. 2, teach. It's a triangle. Tailor, teach, control. And that's a Challenger Sales Rep wrapped with constructive tension. So you are just hearing you talk. Buy the book called The Challenger Sales Rep, which I still recommend you read, even though you're already naturally one. Tailor, teach, control. And guys, that's what Mortgage Coach is. It's a platform so that you can ask great questions. You can teach the family things that they didn't know. Families have never looked at their loan cost over time. Like maybe if it's a family that's a financial planner and a uber nerd, they might do that. But like, it gives you an opportunity to be the teacher with every client you serve. You agree with that? Like, you feel like every client, I'm going to be able to teach them something they hadn't thought about by using the total cost analysis.
100%, absolutely. I think that education is why we're here. Also, I think that whenever I get that borrower who is spicy, I feel like that's the one that I really want, because I know that I can keep them and someone else can lose them just in the conversation that I have with them. So I look forward to that.
Love that. So we've got Glenn Bill, top realtor Glenn Bill. What's up, dude? Deborah Bird just said, great point, Dave. Nowadays, searching hotels, Amazon, you name it, people are conditioned to sort by price in reviews. You're 100% right on that. If anybody has a question, let us know what it is. So let's do one more total cost analysis. I can tell already if you're game sometime in either January or February, I'd love to do just like a 1-hour top producer interview with you where we get your mortgage story, not just your mortgage coach story. Would you be game for having a longer interview in January or February?
You know it. Yeah, I would love it. That'd be awesome. You bet.
All right, cool. So let's look at another one. What are we looking at here?
Now, so Courtney created this one, and I wanted to show this one because I thought it was awesome from a service perspective, because we have the borrowers who had a lot of money they wanted to put towards their mortgage. They are not investors. They're not going to go, invest money in the stock market and look for gains there to offset. They wanted to pay down their mortgage. That was it. And so Courtney compared their current loan with a 30-year, a 15-year, and then just a straight recast. So I really loved this one because what she showed them is that their recast, even though it's at the current rate, their monthly savings is still incredible. They did not do a loan. They just kept their recast and exercised that option and saved the cost of a loan. And I really, really love this one because I have never approached sales from the perspective of what do I got to do to get a deal, but to really help them understand what we're working with, what options they have, and if they don't do a loan, and in this case, I think it was totally perfect for them to stay where they are, they will refer us business, and they're going to refer the highest referrals to us because it comes from a place of they have my back, and they told me what to do, and it didn't even cost me anything. It was 100% free.
Love that. Servant's heart, servant leader, and providing education and transparency. And guys, that's the definition of when you're a servant leader, you're an advisor, is that when you celebrate sometimes that you gave advice, value, and they didn't do a loan with you, and you're actually really proud of it, and you're like, let's do more of that, you're a servant leader. And guys, servant leaders close a lot of loans, and are category leaders, market leaders. I find that consistently. So that's pretty cool. That was a great story. And guys, if you want to learn how to do these mortgage strategies and details, every single Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we have black belt training where it's just about mortgage strategies, how to do all the different strategies there are out there. What about you? You mentioned earlier that you are asking your refi clients, hey, how you feeling about this house? When I interviewed Amber, she said that, like, hey, in my market, 20-ish, I think she said 20% of the time, people are like, hey, let's look at a refi versus a move up. How often does it come up for you where you're turning refis into move ups, or you're at least the client wants to have that conversation?
There haven't been that many. I would say really, truly, I've only had probably a handful. Now, I also think that probably a difference from what I'm doing to the way Amber is doing it. Amber is doing it personally, and I think that probably helps to have a higher conversion, whereas I have Courtney on my team who's having this conversation. So I think that anytime as the loan officer, you're able to have those conversations. I know that when I talk to folks, I feel like I can dig deeper, I can pull out more intention and kind of hear in their voice something different. So I think I could have a better conversion at that if I were to actually ask the question myself.
Well, you bring up a good point. I would push you to say, you know what, I bet you could train someone to ask that question really well and listen really well. And I just pulled up on the screen, I'm showing the scripting that Amber uses when she did it. And I would just tell everybody on this call right now, you as a loan officer, you could probably get better at asking this question, and you can train your team to get better. And I think one of the things that when Amber asked the question, she's also putting some color around it. Now, this is a few months old, so she didn't just ask the question, is this house still working for you? Oh, it is, great. Next. She put some color around it that was to her personality, to her market, to what time it was in the world. And she's getting that result. So just a reminder, guys, and just to remind everybody on this strategy, because it's money. And I do believe coming into the new year, I would push everybody watching this call, get good at asking this question yourself. And if you have a team, teach your team to ask this question. And then here's the goal, guys. This was where she was asking a client about, they came to her for a refi. They could save 322 a month. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer refi, but the family wanted to look at moving up into a bigger home. They wanted to go from 436 to 525, and they qualified for 5% down. So she provided them with the transparency of 5% down, your payment would go up by 507 a month. Now they had equity. So it was like, hey, you could sell that home, buy the new home non-contingent. Realtors like non-contingent move-up buyers. And so she was able to bring that to an agent. And then you could, after you sell that home, take the 125, recast, bring the payment down to 164 or 164 less. Now, in this case, the client really liked the idea of, you know what, we've just gone through COVID. Maybe we want to keep that 125 where we could get to it, put it in an interest-bearing account. So she was able to say, hey, you could put that money in an interest-bearing account. Her and the client agreed to look at it at 6%. And guys, this is challenger sales rep. She asked question, she put some color around it, she listened, she taught them something. So even if they would have gone and just said, you know what, we just want to do the refi, she still elevated to a whole new level of captain of the wealth team with that family. But in this case, the family ended up taking her advice, getting more liquid, getting more net worth over 15 years, getting a bigger home. And then here's the other thing, realtor gets a move up buyer and a move up listing. So I think that's going to be a pretty killer strategy. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It was an awesome idea. When she, during that interview, I was listening to that interview. It's like, oh, man, right? Awesome.
Yeah. So cool. So you've heard some of these interviews that we've done in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. Anything you want to, just knowing your experience adopting Mortgage Coach, using it in the marketplace, anything that you think, you'd like to share as we go into wrap up mode?
So I've coached some newer loan officers, and we've talked about Mortgage Coach. I think the one thing that is really helpful to understand is that it's really, really easy to use. Once I got my fees loaded in, it's so simple. So with a little bit of time and setup, it is not scary. I think that's the one thing that I've had new loan officers ask me about, and it is, I'm not real bright when it comes to all this good stuff, but if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true, but thank you for saying that. What about speed? I think a lot of people look at Mortgage Coach and they're like, oh, I don't have time for that. Like, that's more than what I have to do, so I don't have time. Do you feel that once you learn how to do it, have the conversation and set it up, it saves you time?
Oh, 100%. You can create it while you're talking. I've had, back in the day when we used to have face-to-face appointments, I would have a borrower stay here and I could work it up right with them. It's so incredibly simple and easy to use. And again, with just a little bit of setup, it helps to make it easy forever. So absolutely.
What about this? Another common objection is like, oh, my clients, that's too much information to them. They don't want that. And I do believe too much information is just as damaging to trust, and teaching is too little. But I also believe that, there's a way to share it with everyone. What are your thoughts on that for the new loan officer, the experienced loan officer? It's just like, oh, that's just too much information.
So from a borrower, I've never once had anybody ever say it was too much information, never once. If anything, I think probably one of the scenarios that sticks out most in my mind was a super educated, very experienced older gentleman who had bought a whole lot of homes. And I got to say, I think what I really, really enjoy is when we're live together. And with him, I was not on a Zoom, but we were on the phone together. And I pull up the presentation, I'm clicking on it, and it's changing yellow, and we're going through this whole conversation. And at the end of it, he goes, honey, this is not your first rodeo, is it? And he goes, well, you done sold me. And I'm like, well, I didn't really have that intention. I just want you to understand what we're working with. And I have never had a client ever complained about it being too much information. I know on my team, I've had team members continue to use the, the fee sheets. And that's like the bad word in the office, is to print out a fee sheet. It's got to be a TCA. They've got to look at the 15 years. They've got to look at the bigger picture. They need to truly, truly understand so they can make a good decision. And I don't see really any reason why anybody would not use a TCA.
Well, love it. Well, Danell, I can't wait to do a full hour top producer interview with you, find out your mortgage why, get into more details around your team and who does what. If you're game for that, we'll schedule that via email, either in January or February, depending on your schedule. But it's great to have you as a leader in the mortgage coach community. And, the fact that you're coaching people and you're helping them grow with Mortgage Coach, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the time we spent today.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is incredible.
All right, guys. So if you got value from this interview, give it a like down below, watch it with your team, and be on the lookout for the full top producer interview. Take care, everybody.